AM 1130, Davis and Emmer this morning. We're going to be joined by Ron Paul, congressman from Texas and, of course, candidate for the GOP presidential nomination. Ron Paul has been campaigning all over Minnesota this week. Got a lot of people at a couple of events last night. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning. Nice to be with you.
Good to be with you. So anyway, where were we? You did very well in the Nevada primary in 2008. What do you think happened this time around?
Well, you know, it's very strange if you look at all the other states that have happened that we, campaigned 4 years ago, and then this time it's either 2 or 3 times greater, the vote that came out. And I have no idea what was going on, but the turnout was lower. We had 20,000 people identified. The discrepancy is something that I can't believe everybody just didn't show up. But the total vote didn't show up. Our vote didn't show up. And, it took them over 24 hours to count the votes. And I don't know if we'll ever sort it out. We had a similar problem in Nevada 4 years ago where actually they closed down the convention and threw us all out. And then a year later they admitted that they had made all these mistakes and discrepancy. So I guess they'll be talking about this for a long time before we know exactly what happened.
Lots of young people are showing up at your events. I was really touched by actually, I think it was Florida when you made the speech, and you were surrounded by really young people who seem to be really having a good time. What is it about your message that is attracting younger voters?
Well, I just think that I just talked to a few just not too long ago, and they said it's because I'm always, consistent in what I say, and I defend the Constitution. They don't like the wars, and they're interested in the Federal Reserve. They come up with these kind of things. But I think the whole idea of personal liberty, being your own person, is very attractive to young people. I think we all have that natural tendency, but we learn to conform as time goes on, you're not your own person. It's not your life. Whether you're a 2-year-old and independent or a 16-year-old and you want to be independent, you have to conform. I think young people would like to say, is there a way that we don't have to conform, be our own person, and still have a good life and not offend anybody else? And I think that whole message is very attractive to young people. But lately, people have been commenting that the crowds are being more diverse, and there's a lot of older people coming in now, too. So I think the message of liberty is appealing to everybody.
Yeah, Congressman, this is Tom Emmer. I have seen, some of your events where you do have a diverse group, at least in Minnesota. But I want to ask, you see this growing group of young people, and I happen to have a bunch of them at home. Many of them are, just going into their early 20s in my house. And the thing that seems interesting to me is it's not just liberty. They seem to be genuinely concerned with this thing called debt. Are you getting any of that back?
Oh, absolutely. And I think they understand it, because if I talk to the college kids and I ask, well, what do you think about Social Security? If you could get out and take care of yourself, almost all of them say, yeah, let me get out of it. And they know that Social Security is bankrupt and they'd have to pay into it for 40 years and not get anything out of it. No, debt is a big thing, and I think they connect the debt to the entitlement system that's run away and also the spending overseas, and they put it together and they say, well, it is true that the freer society, the more prosperous it is, you get to keep what you earn, and I think it's a very attractive message. But overall, big government and debt go together, and I think they see they're inheriting this debt.
There's a rift right now between 3 different factions of the Republican Party: the Liberty Group, usually supporters of your campaign, the evangelicals, and the so-called moderates. Eugene Robinson wrote a piece today about the low intensity level of Republicans, or almost an apathy. If you get the nomination, or even at a brokered convention, how do you repair that rift?
Well, I think liberty and the respect for individuals repairs it automatically, because everybody is respected for the way they want to live. So liberty should not offend evangelicals. If an evangelical wants to push their views on other people, that's different. But somebody who believes in liberty have no qualms with evangelicals. I'm close to them. I'm right to life and all this. So they shouldn't feel offended. And I think people, who understand this, that their lifestyle and how they live and their religious beliefs should be their business, and the way they spend their money should be their business. So I think these groups should be brought together, and it comes out in our campaign, because we have a lot of independents. We have the young people who have not made commitments over a period of time. And then we also have the people who are tired of these wars, And I think you can bring people together. The independents, I have a lot of Democrats and independents and conservative Republicans that will come to these rallies.
Say, Congressman, I want to just shift gears a little bit to the campaign process. You have made a very public decision that you're going to focus on caucus states like Minnesota as opposed to primary states. Can you address why and what happens? You've got, I believe, 3 of them today, Minnesota, Missouri, Colorado. What happens in terms of your campaign based? Is it whether you go forward or how you go forward, is it determinative on what happens in these caucus states?
Yeah, and the day the caucus occurs, like even that vote that's questionable down in Nevada, strategically, if you have the right people in the right places and they go to the conventions, we may still do very, very well, when the delegates are decided. So some of these are straw votes, and they'll get a lot of publicity, but it doesn't end up who gets the delegates. So it's good. Get the straw vote and the delegates, but you can still get delegates.
And well, you actually have a few more delegates than the actual votes may indicate, because this is a state by state process.
Right.
What happens when you get to you're going to stay in till Tampa, I assume?
Well, I mean, I that's not an absolute, but that's the intention, because we won't know exactly what's happening until all this stuff is sorted out. But the whole purpose is to get the delegates and see if somebody comes along and stumbles. A few of them have stumbled already. You can't always know exactly what's going to come out, so you have to be available.
I just want to know, Congressman, have any of them taken you up on your challenge to go on a 25-mile bike ride in the Texas heat?
No, I've been waiting on that, but I'll have to.
It's not warm enough yet.
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is a great discussion on the policy, because the media plays this as almost like a sporting event. You've just talked about which is frankly a poor way to look at this, because this is it's a marathon when you're running these campaigns, and the more delegates you pick up, Congressman Ron Paul, the bigger the voice you and your supporters have at the eventual convention that's going to take place in Tampa.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, you have to set your goals, and you have to strive to reach that goal. But if you don't, and you still have a lot of delegates, you can still, if you happen to believe in something and you're energizing a whole generation, there has to be some benefit from that, obviously.
If the economy's getting better marginally, and it helps the president, just in terms of perceptions, what is the Republican message going to be on the economy?
Well, he can't fix the economy, and besides, those numbers are all fudged. At the same time, they said there were 200,000 new jobs, which was true, and that's good. But 1.2 million dropped out of the workforce. If you'd have calculated the ones who are frustrated, the unemployment rate's at 11%. And I know superficially, and you can even stir the markets up with news like that, but you can't change the facts of life. And the facts of life, people are really, really annoyed with the economy. And it's going to be a long time, because we're in the doldrums. We're doing the wrong things. It's 4 years now. The recession is likely to take another dip, because Europe's in bad shape. We're all in this together. It's a worldwide phenomenon with the dollar reserve standard. So we have a long way to go until we have monetary reform, reject the entitlement system, and for us to get out of this business that we have to be the policeman of the world.
Well, if the front runner wins the nomination, how do you think that's going to get articulated?
Oh, you mean in what way?
Well, it's Mitt Romney, and he's going to win the nomination and so forth. Do you think if he wins the nomination that this message is going to get articulated?
My message, well, one way or another. I mean, it depends. The more delegates you have, and the better you do. And if he stumbles, who knows? We may get tremendous attention. But I'm actually surprised how far along we have come. If you look 5-10 years ago, who would have ever dreamed that last night we had 2,500 people show up, and you walk in and they're yelling and screaming, "End the Fed, end the Fed." I mean, who would have ever thought?
No, it's amazing.
A crowd like that would even care about the Federal Reserve System.
Well,
so
I mean,
we're making great strides.
I think the other part of the question is that this is going to be a little closer race in Minnesota, and your campaign is very experienced with caucus states. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, that's what we've been doing. We've been targeting, and we've been organizing, and straw votes in caucus states is where this energy goes. So we're cautiously optimistic, but we'll have to wait and see.
What you mentioned, I saw a story that said that you have come out against the Consumer Protection Bureau. I almost laugh when I ask because I know what you're going to say. But talk about your opposition to this, that this is going to solve any consumer problems in America.
Well, it's just another bureaucracy. It's within the Federal Reserve System, and Congress has no oversight. And the Federal Reserve, in order to pay the bills and control this so-called consumer protection, is going to be paid for by printing money. I mean, it's the most absurd thing in the world. Even if it was, some benefit, it's done absolutely the wrong way. Congress is supposed to do things like that, but consumer protectionism in the midst of the Federal Reserve destroying the consumer with inflation and the business cycle and all the things they do. I mean, to us, it's just a farce on them pretending that they are going to do it, and then the process is just an outrage.
Almost out of time, Congressman. Last question. I don't know if you're watching what's going on with Syria, with the Russian and the Chinese veto, and what we can't quite figure out what the president's foreign policy is. Can you?
Well, it's a foreign policy of intervention, so he's involved. There's a civil war going on, and there's a compulsion in this country to be involved in every civil war, every entangling alliance. We are now the policemen of the world, and we're going to be involved. And I think that's a failed policy, and I think we should stay out of these civil wars. It costs us a lot of money, and before you know it, the troops will be in, and the people who are planning this strategy want to deal with Syria. And their next move then will be Iran. I think that is absolutely dangerous to the whole world.
Congressman, we really appreciate your time today. Obviously, Bob and I appreciate the opportunity that we've had to get to know you during this process. And we wish you the best of luck tonight, sir, and on all your travels as you proceed on towards Tampa.
Thanks a lot. Good to talk to you. Bye.
Thanks, Congressman.